The journey from Earth to space isn't easy. NASA once said that launching something into orbit costs about $10,000 per pound. And while continuously improving rocket technology aims to bring that number down in the future, it's still expensive, dangerous, and difficult. For example, to reach orbit, NASA's SLS launch system needs to expend 537,000 gallons of fuel, and the space agency predicts that using it will cost about $4.1 billion per mission. Despite that, right now rockets are still the best method we have for putting objects in space. But what if there was another way? That's the idea behind Spin Launch, a small, experimental centrifuge located in the middle of a New Mexico desert. It looks like an oversized yo-yo, but with a smokestack rising out of the top. Its mission? To quite literally throw objects into space. No, really, that's what it does. It throws objects into space. Spin Launch calls it a suborbital accelerator. It's a centrifugal vacuum chamber that spins a carbon fiber throwing arm at 5,000 miles per hour before releasing its payload and launching whatever it is into the air at breakneck speeds. In fact, according to Spin Launch, its centrifuge-thrown launch vehicles have been tested at speeds at over 6 times the speed of sound. If that sounds too dangerous for astronauts, that's because it is. A typical rocket ride to space exposes astronauts to up to 3.2 Gs at launch. But objects thrown by Spin Launch's kinetic system, they endure as much as 10,000 Gs at launch. That's why Spin Launch is developing its own class of satellites built to withstand high G-forces. Spin Launch says that launching small satellites into orbit with a traditional rocket can cost upwards of $7 million, but that their kinetic accelerator can do it for less than $500,000. Even so, the system is still a ways off from even accomplishing that goal. While the company did successfully launch a test vehicle in October of 2021, it will have to build an accelerator 3 times the size of its current facility to throw an object all the way into orbit. The company hopes to perform its first orbital test flight by 2025. But that still leaves us with the problem of how to get astronauts into space without using rockets. One idea for accomplishing that feat would be to build an elevator into space, an orbital tether that could be slowly climbed up to reach space at a fraction of the cost of a rocket launch. It sounds simple, but that's actually an idea far more complicated than Spin Launch's orbital slingshot. An elevator to space would mean stretching 60,000 miles of cables into the sky, suspended by a counterweight in orbit. Those cables would have to be incredibly strong too. And there are countless other technical hurdles that need to be overcome before this dream can become a reality. Either way, one thing is clear. The way we get into space may one day look a lot different than the rocket launches we know of today. Until then, however, we'll have to make do with what we have. And hey, let's admit it, watching a rocket launch into orbit is still a pretty amazing experience itself.
Liftoff of the Falcon 9 and Crew Dragon. Go NASA, go SpaceX, Godspeed, Spot and Dog.